If you're a high functioning woman with ADHD who thinks she doesn't struggle with time blindness, then this video is for you. Hi guys, I'm Rachel Brady and I make videos here about ADHD. I myself have ADHD. I was late diagnosed. I'm 45 years old and I really try and focus on what I use as my holistic toolkit to manage my ADHD. I'm a yoga teacher, I'm an embodiment coach, and I'm also a holistic life coach. So I really value like punctuality, okay? Like I'm not going to be a nightmare about it if you're a little bit late, especially if there's like a genuine reason. But I really don't think that I struggle with it. So I'm hardly ever late. If I am, I apologise, and I always feel like I can plan. So I'll go backwards. So say I have an appointment at 2 p.m. I'll think, okay, it takes half an hour to drive there. It takes 15 minutes to look for a car parking space. Okay, I'm going to take, half an hour to get ready. I need to go up then, and I'll go back and go back and go back. And so I really, like, some parts of ADHD just don't resonate with me. However, overcommitting, doing too much, and then struggling with burnout, hello, that's me. And the other day I had this massive aha moment. Like, that is actually a type of time blindness. So as I embarked on planning out my next project, on top of this, on top of many other things, on top of having 3 kids, on top of having 5, well, we lost one the other day, so 4 pets, on top of running a home and supporting my husband who has a really big career, also trying to be a friend, trying to be a daughter, trying to be a sister, trying to be all of the things. I used to chair the PTA, I don't anymore, I stepped down because I had too much on. All of these things, I keep taking on more, and it's never really occurred to me, apart from, I've always attributed that part of myself as multi-passionate. I am absolutely a multi-passionate. I find it really hard to not go down a rabbit hole and want to certify, especially if it's holistic, in something if I'm really into it. And so that level of like, I love birthing projects, but then hanging in there and kind of like doing the grind of the project, or like grinding it out and actually selling the thing, or actually filling the spots and actually kind of showing up, that's the part that I find really hard. So that's the part of this that I find like, yes, that is my ADHD and I can recognize that. So one thing that has never occurred to me, apart from the other day when I was like, wow, do I have time for this new project that I'm so passionate about, that I so want to do, I so love the other person that's involved, it'll be so good for me. And even now as I'm saying it, I'm like, I can feel myself, like the loss that I'll feel when I say that I can't do it right now, because this is brand new. Like, I hardly ever say no to things, and if anything, it's me suggesting the thing to somebody else. And so I suddenly realized the other day, oh my god, this is time blindness. Because, right, okay, there's only so many hours in a school day. So you drop the kids off at school. Well, we live very close to our school, so I'll walk my youngest to his school. The other 2 are older and they go to a different school. They'll walk themselves there. Then I come home, and this is, by the way, I've already been up for 2 hours sorting all the house out and getting the kids ready in, uniforms, feed the animals, let the animals out, all the rest of it, and had some form of morning routine myself. By the way, if you want an inner peace morning routine, daily routine to help you cultivate inner peace, the free D is below. By the time you've actually sat down, how much time have you actually got to work? And then you have, you've got to pick the kids up from school. They have afternoon clubs or different clubs sometimes after school. There might be a play date. You might have to do something else. You might have an appointment. And so the reality is that the place I'm at in my life, I don't have that much free time. And so what I realized was I'm being way too ambitious in the projects that I'm taking on, in terms of like how much I can actually do properly and deliver it without suffering from burnout and feeling like I've dropped the ball at home, which is, look, if you follow this channel, you'll see that for the past years and years and years, I wasn't just making ADHD content. That is new here. And what I used to do is make mum content, and like my, being a mum, being a stay-at-home mum especially, is a full-time job. Like, believe it, if you're not a stay-at-home mum, you have support somewhere of somebody doing all the things. So let's go back to time blindness. So I was blown away when I had this aha moment the other day. I was like, oh my God, you do have time blindness. So what is time blindness? So I asked ChatGPT. Time blindness in ADHD is difficulty with accurately perceiving, estimating and managing time. People with ADHD may struggle to sense how much time has passed, plan ahead or prioritise tasks based on the time constraints. Hence they are late, which is the most obvious form of time blindness. So then I asked Chat what parts of the brain in ADHD relate to this, and like how does that work out in terms of how we perceive time. And so it said it was linked to the prefrontal cortex. Oh my God, I don't know, I might keep that in because that's funny. It said it's linked to the prefrontal cortex, but which we already talk about, right? Executive function, prefrontal cortex, but also the basal ganglia and the cerebellum. Okay, I'm not a doctor, so this is the struggly science bit for me. So the prefrontal cortex is at the front of the brain, and it's where all the executive function lives. Planning, attention, impulse control. And so in ADHD, it tends to be less efficient. We have deficiencies here, let's say. And so we find it difficult to stick to schedules and plan and organise. And then, now this bit is new to me. The basal ganglia is involved in regulating attention and dopamine flow. And the dysfunction here affects the motivation and time perception, leading to poor anticipation of how long tasks will take. See, oh, do you know, it's happening again. I was about to say I don't have that, but maybe I do, because if I say, oh, I'm going to start a podcast, or I'm going to launch a retreat, or I'm going to do a workshop, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that, it does take a long time. And because I have a perception that I work really fast, and I do, I will forget that actually it also involves a long period of time where you're selling something, or a long period of time where you're editing something, or a long period of time where you're whatever. And so I'll get more and more stressed as I try and squeeze into these tiny pockets of time that I've got, and then I'll neglect a whole load of other things like life admin and like parking fines and like clearing up the boot room because the animal was sick in there and I forgot, and like, you know what I mean. Okay, so the other part of the brain that's affected here is the cerebellum, and it plays a role in timing and coordination. Differences here, I'm reading just from some notes here, can impair the brain's internal clock, making it harder to feel the passage of time. That's interesting. So I can lose track of time when I'm in a flow state, and I think that goes across the board for every neurotype. And so ADHD brains struggle with this because they tend to focus on the here and now and neglect the future tasks or the consequences. And there's a reduced dopamine activity, it says here, which affects reward, anticipation and time tracking. I can understand that. And I also think I struggle a lot with the kind of instant gratification. So years before I even got diagnosed with ADHD, I really recognised, I think it was at the start of the book, The Power of Now. It talks about instant gratification, and I identified, wow, I think I have got a problem with this. Or maybe it's the road less travelled, I can't remember. And I noticed that like I need the dopamine hit now. Like I really struggle to put the time in, to grind it out, to do the thing, which is why I love like birthing things. That gives me the dopamine hit, but then like the actual showing up for it and being there till completion is really hard. So in short, it says ADHD affects the brain's ability to process time as a concept, making time management feel abstract, inconsistent or even invisible. That's crazy. And so what I asked ChatGPT is, what about this type of time blindness? Like, is this time blindness if you take on too much? And I have seen this in my beloved ADHD friends and family. I can see it in the other people, like, oh wow, look, she's taking on too much. Like she can't possibly achieve all of that in the day. And I've always thought to myself, I don't do that. And actually, generally speaking, in other areas of my life, I don't do that. So I will be like, right, I know that if I go to pottery painting in the morning with my daughter, I will not be able to do anything in the afternoon because I have this exhaustion. but I would never put in like 2 social things in one day. Like if I hear that anyone's done that, my brain explodes. I can't do that. But what I would do, and it only seems to show up in my career, and this is really interesting, I'm having an aha moment now, I'm processing here. I think it's to do with me. I overstretch myself because I've got nothing to prove when I'm socializing with people. I've got nothing to prove if I'm taking my daughter out. And I feel like I have an innate sense of the low self-esteem that I keep hearing about when I talk to other ADHD women. I think it's to do with that. So I constantly have this battle of like low self-esteem, create something, improve yourself, make it amazing. Oh wow, it is amazing, it's going to be amazing. Then failure to kind of pull it through. Low self-esteem. Low self-esteem, here isn't a great idea, this is going to be the thing, and then the cycle. And so for me, it's coming up very much in my career and in like what I can do in my business here, which is always at odds with like my family life, running a home well, and all the things that I love to do here. And this, by the way, on my values scale, if you actually work out what your values are, my values are much more about home, family, peace and things like that. But I've also got this struggle in between the two, which is kind of to do with low self-esteem. And that shows up most in my desire to kind of come up with something really great. Now, it's not all of my business stuff on YouTube is, you know, all of my business stuff, my yoga things, they're not all driven by my low self-esteem. They are also my God-given gift and my life purpose. But my need to overstretch myself continually, I think, comes from low self-esteem. So how can time blindness look in different ways other than just being late? So it can look like overcommitting. And like we've just talked about, it can be overcommitting in your job, overcommitting in your career. You know, if you have issues around yourself as a mother, it might be overcommitting as a mother. If you're a people pleaser, maybe you are overcommitting socially. Like, that's not something I do, but it completely depends like on your own spectrum of experience. It can also look like underestimating how long things are going to take. So I would only experience this really in terms of how long it might take to plan and put together a podcast with another person, for example. So when I'm working with other people, I would definitely be, if it was on my own, I know I could do something really quick. But obviously if you're working with other people, you have to be respectful, listen to them, and then kind of plan out and then agree, and things do take longer. And so I would completely underestimate how long something could take. And then also difficulty pacing yourself in the task. So I would absolutely, like, I am a very all or nothing person. So what I've had to do as well is balance, you know, this pathologized idea of ADHD with things like that I will definitely be making more videos on, things like human design. So if you don't know about human design, it's a way of looking at the world with different energy archetypes. And my archetype is a projector. So projectors aren't here to just grind it out and work. There's an energy type called generators, and that's what lights them up. They're like little Duracell bunnies, and I know people like that. We all know people like that, and they're amazing, thank God for them. I'm much more here to kind of like do my thing and then rest, and then do my thing and then rest. And I do have access to energy if I'm inspired. That very much speaks to the neurodivergent me. So if I'm very inspired, I will just like and burn it out and then just like rest. So I used to think I had a problem with here, and that I would be like, oh right, now I've got to work between the hours of 10 and 2 every day and be really, really strict with myself, and it just doesn't work. So I have to roll with the flow a bit more. And I've really given myself a lot of grace. So the word grace just keeps coming up all the time whenever I talk about ADHD, whenever I'm making these videos, and it's really about self-compassion. So having an understanding about how you work, it's not necessarily wrong to like really go for it and kind of maybe not pace yourself. If that's how you work and you know you work best like that, then that's okay. If it's not causing you any problems, that's okay. So for me, I think going forward, for me, it's about saying no when I really want to say yes. And I feel like I have to prioritise my health and well-being and my family. But bringing it back to your values, it depends on where do you want to be spending your time. And for me, it's really important that my house feels not freakishly organised or anything like that, but like a little bit organised, that there is flow, that I have time to rest and self-regulate. Because if I don't, I know that I'm much more likely to do things like drink and to struggle with burnout, and that has a direct impact on my children. So when I go down, like when the captain of the ship goes down, the whole family suffers really bad. And I've seen that. And in my other video, I talk about my ADHD burnout and my kind of almost like I had like a breakdown about 5 years ago, which led to all this holistic retraining. And so there's very serious implications to not managing this type of thing, this time blindness symptom, however it looks like for you. So guys, I hope you enjoyed that video today on time blindness, and I wonder if you relate. Like, do you suffer with the more obvious type of time blindness? I know like it's a massively high featuring ADHD symptom that like so many people struggle with, and I always try and give people grace around that. And I know it never comes from like malice or like laziness or like thinking that you're so important. It's literally like you're just really struggling to like plan out how long something will take or how long it'll take to get somewhere or something like that. But I hope the video is useful. Please leave a comment below. Like I said earlier, there is an Inner Peace for ADHD Minds freebie. It's if you go to the link below, pop your email in and it will be sent to you. So much love to you. If you haven't liked and subscribed, do so. And then I am uploading at the minute every week with my ADHD videos. I'm also going to be popping some yoga videos on here and also some cookery videos about easy ways to eat when you've got ADHD and cooking foods as well that help the ADHD brain. Okay, that's all for now. Bye.